Good morning and welcome to FTB Sports. This is the daily transfer show, and I'm joined today by two guests, Darius, and we have Adam as well. Good morning to both of you.
How we doing?
Happy New Year and everything.
Happy New Year. I mean, it feels the same, so I can't really say much, but at least we got some football tonight, so I'm happy about that.
Exactly.
Happy New Year. That's happy COVID 21.
Happy COVID 21. So as Adam's a Man U fan, it's going to be interesting. We won't go too much into the games, but obviously we've got Villa tonight. What are you thinking of that before we start on this?
Well, I'm confident at the moment, given the results. Obviously, we battled out that 1-0 win. We probably didn't deserve it against Wolves, but when you're not playing well and you get the win, it looks all right, doesn't it? So
it does. And like I said, second in the table as well.
Second,
I
know,
and that's the scary thing. Jesus.
I'm wondering where the Ollie Outers are.
Man's like Solo is nowhere to be seen at the moment with the Ollie out. Interesting. Like I said, I think that game will be very, very good to watch. I think, as will the Spurs one. So we had the Spurs preview show earlier, a bit of technical difficulties on that, but let's go into this and let's have the first of our rumor mill. City to bid 200 million for Kane. So this has come from. There's a lot of reports out there that City are planning a bid for Kane. This one a bit extravagant at 200 mil, but has been reported on Sportsmo. I'll come to Darius first as a Spurs fan. Even if it was 100 mil, is this something that we should be worried about?
If it was 100 million euros, which I saw, I think it was CF Bayern was reporting it was 100 million euros. If it's 100 million euros, yes, we have something to be worried about, because if we're willing to sell at that price, that's a problem. But I don't think Daniel Levy is going to even blink or even look at that sort of price. I think if it's going to be anything, it will be in that 150 to 200 million range. And I don't want to sound, I know Kane is an elite player, like one of Tottenham's best ever players. But if you was to get 150, 200 million, and the way that we've been investing recently, I'm confident enough to say that if we was to get 150 or 200 million, I believe that we could reinvest that and probably build or replace Kane's goal output with about 3 or 4 players, which is what you kind of have to do with players like Kane, because you're not going to really be able to replace his output with one player, Harry Kane, because he is a one-of-a-kind talent. He scores and assists now. So I think the best thing to do, if he was ever going to do it, I would hate it. I wouldn't want it. But if it was anything around this sort of price that we're talking about, you could reinvest and you could probably get about 2 or 3 world-class players, or maybe 5 or 6 very, very good young players who will build for the future. Because Kane's 27 now, so he's not old, but he's not young either, is he?
The problem I've got with this transfer is, let's say City went in at 200 million and Daniel Levy accepted 200 million. That's a rebuild job. We're gonna take 200 million. Harry Kane's gone. We have to then rebuild. One thing is, are we gonna then say we're gonna trust the manager Jose to have that 200 mil to rebuild? We know, if we're all honest with ourselves, that Jose's not there for the long term. He's there as an immediate fix, get us trophies. And obviously from Adam's perspective, Adam knows him from Man United. Is Jose going to use this 200 million, let's say, in theory, to rebuild? Would we give him enough time to rebuild with 200 mil?
With Daniel Levy, it's difficult, really, because he got rid of Pochettino when I thought, he not really had many bad spells with Spurs, and the second things got tough, he got rid of him. So when there's money at stake, 150, 200 million, the type of player Mourinho's going to get. He's not going to go and spend 150 million on a youth player. He's going to bring in some high Galactico signing, if you like, like he did with Paul Pogba. Didn't really hit the heights, fell out with him actually, and then it all went a bit sour. So I don't know. It all depends on the player you bring in. But
I was just going to say, we've got a comment here from Charles William. Hello, chaps. I think, yes, as the loss of revenue from COVID-19, I think it would be 200 million, 150 million up front, 50 million bonuses. So someone's trying to break it down there. I think 200 million in this current climate is a lot of money to put up on the table. So 200 million for a rebuilding job, again, we've got a lot of players that I think we need to get out of the club. And just looking at that, there's a lot of players that need to go before we could even start bringing in these numbers. but £200 million for Kane. It wouldn't be a January thing. I think that would more likely to be a summer job.
Would there be a £200 million transfer during the pandemic?
No, I not for Harry Kane. I don't think Harry Kane. It's a hard one because he's 27. He's in my opinion, he's the best striker in the Premier League. But nobody can really afford to be hauling out 200 million for Harry Kane. There's other players out there who will command a lower fee, who obviously won't bring as much as Harry Kane will. But it's not about one player for me. It's if you can reciprocate the same output that Harry Kane puts out with with 3 or 4 players, and you can spend, I don't know, £40 million on a player, maybe £20 million on two. Like you can find ways to use your money better, especially in this situation. And I do wholeheartedly agree with that earlier comment about loss of revenue. I feel like that's what would happen. Like we'd have the money, we'd reinvest the money, but we wouldn't reinvest enough. And it would be like, okay, you sell Harry Kane for 200, and then you buy maybe, I don't know, an upcoming striker for 50 mil, and he might not be Premier League proven, he might not be ready for it. And then it's like, okay, you're in trouble now because you haven't got your best player and you haven't got anyone performing at that level.
Harry Kane is one of England's poster boys, if not, well, certainly our poster boy, and he does bring in a lot of money through, different revenue streams that he has. Jose's meant to have written in his contract they can't sell Kane without his say so. 200 million would negate that. I believe that's true. So if there is a contract in Jose's contract to say, yeah, he has a last say on Harry Kane, Jose would then need assurances that he's going to be there to spend the 200 million. That's the only way he would do it. Other than that, why would he sell somebody that he considered to be his best player to weaken him for a job that he's not going to be in long term? So that doesn't make
arrival
sense.
As well. To arrival.
Exactly. It would have to be to someone abroad, and even then would then Jose say, hold on a minute, am I going to be a long term to spend that money? So I can't see him wanting to do that. I cannot see him deciding that, yeah, I'll let Harry Kane go, given that he's built a lot of what he's doing at the moment off of him. So, coming to you, Adam, some of the comments were coming through from Charles here. Yes, summer. It would be summer. Man City have a bootlegs pit and, a bottle full of money. They do. So they can afford to do this. Do you think it's got legs for potentially next summer? And I'm asking Adam of that.
Yeah, definitely. It's not going to happen in a January window. Even next summer, I can't see anyone spending 200 million on a player. But also, do you think? I know that Kane's obviously, he's got bags of goals in him, Tottenham's best player, but is he also worth 200 million?
I'll let Darius answer that one. He's what I would say firstly, is any player worth 200 million?
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's very few. I would only pay that sort of money for a prime Messi or a prime Ronaldo in their pomp. I wouldn't pay that for any of those two now, but there's no other player in world football that I could see that I would say, 200 million, I'd sanction that. Darius? Like
you said, those Neymar and Mbappe transfers really just inflated the market and destroyed the market. Basically, there's no value. Like the only teams that are finding value at the moment are your the RB clubs. So the Red Bull clubs are finding value because they have very, very intensive scouting networks, and it's like they're sourcing the talent. But if you think about it, 200 million pounds for Harry Kane, you would, even when he was in his pomp back in 2015-16, you wouldn't even think about paying that price, and that's before all these massive transfers happened. So I just think it's not realistic for Harry Kane to leave for 200 million. Also, it just doesn't make financial sense, and I don't think it's possible. I just don't think it's possible to pay that sort of money and really get away with it, because City have spent, how much money has City spent over the past year or so? There's got to be some sort of regulation. They've spent about 100 odd mil this season on centre backs, so I can't imagine them getting away with spending 200 million on Harry Kane unless they sell, I don't know, De Bruyne, Sterling, somebody like that. Do you know what I mean? So I just think it just doesn't make any sense, really. I think if Kane's going to go, he'll go abroad, or he will go because we are not doing very well. We can see there's a little bit of promise this season, so I don't think it will leave next season.
There's a lot of speculation, and there's always going to be this sort of speculation around transfer time. This to me is not a January real transfer story. This is one that's been probably whipped up to kind of get us thinking, certainly get the Spurs board thinking, and maybe plant some doubts into Harry Kane's mind. If we don't win anything, is that something then that he could use as a tool to get himself out? Does he want to get out? So this one we could probably talk about for a long time. So I'm going to move on. The next story we have, Chelsea joined the race for Sancho. So Jadon Sancho, obviously a massive rumour story that went around the houses for Man U back end of last season, looking to bring him in the summer. They're still obviously in for him, apparently. But Liverpool are also reportedly in for Jadon Sancho. So 3 teams, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United. I'll come to you, Adam. What would you say to signing Jadon Sancho? Or do you believe that one of those other 2 teams have a better chance of getting him, given the saga that happened over the summer?
Yeah, they definitely got a better chance of signing them. I'm kind of happy we didn't, because at the time I felt like it was, obviously I'd love to have a player like that, but at the time I didn't feel like he was the player that we needed immediately. Immediately, I think, was our back line, probably defensive midfield, but also at the same time we don't have any real wingers. We have strikers that want to play centre forward that are playing wide, so it's a difficult one. But given how our board dealt with that transfer, from what I've read and heard, I'd think he'd just turn us down instantly, especially if you had Chelsea, Liverpool, especially. They're obviously the popular opinion at the moment, if you want to go there. But also, is he going to start ahead of Mo Salah every game? I'm not sure, because at the stage he's at, he's probably thinking to himself he's going to be a starter, not a rotation player. So
I look at this. Sorry, I'm going to say, I'll let you finish. Go on, Nick.
Yeah. No, I'd say Chelsea, I can more see him starting week in, week out for them, because their team is... Frank doesn't know his best 11 at the moment. So that's an understatement. But yeah.
Yeah, to me, this is an interesting one. I think United will still want him. I believe he would potentially be an upgrade on Greenwood. I think so. Given the level of performance that Sancho's at, he'd probably be an upgrade on someone like Greenwood. He would definitely push for a starting place if you had a front 3 of, let's say, your Martial, your Rashford and Cavani, and I think that would be your strongest front 3 at this moment in time. He'd certainly push Rashford for it. He'd probably push Martial as well. I just don't know whether or not Chelsea fits him because of the types of players that are there already. They've got a lot of players of that type there. I'm not so sure. I'm really not sure about this one. I think if I was to be a betting man, I don't think he's going to go anywhere. But Liverpool, that does interest me. You know, he might not start ahead of someone like Mane or Firmino or Salah. But look what Jota's come in and done. You know, Jota's, when he was playing, was really threatening those guys. And so it adds that competition for someone like Liverpool. You know, that would really be a strong signing. Given that, Daz, what's your thoughts on that, potentially, Sancho Chelsea?
I believe Sancho knows in his own ability. So I don't think Sancho's going to a club where they're not guaranteeing him starting minutes every week. Because if you look, he left City, didn't sign a pro contract. And there was a reason why he didn't want to, because he knew that he could go to another club and start and be a main starter. He's been great at Dortmund. This season, he's not been as good. He's really not been as good, especially in the Bundesliga. He's not scored yet in the Bundesliga. He still dribbles past everybody. He's got high dribble numbers, but just not seem... I don't know if the Man U transfer saga kind of affected him and it's kind of playing on his head, but what is he, 20 years old? He's got so much time. I think it's a bit of a rush. It's a rush thing. I think Chelsea, I don't think will happen. I think there's too many players that's, like you said, that's similar to him that play in this position. Man United, I don't think it's going to happen, only because you've just brought in Amad Diallo now from Atalanta, isn't it? So he's on his way in. He's a young 18-year-old right winger who looks really good actually, but obviously he's got no experience. So we'll see what he's like. I just don't think like you said, there's not really any clubs. I can't think in the Premier League, especially that really need Sancho, or not need Sancho, but can afford to pay for Sancho one and will play him every single week, because I think that's the main thing that Sancho is looking for. If he's going to join a bigger club than Dortmund, because Dortmund's a big club in Germany, second best team in Germany, but if he's going to join a bigger club than Dortmund, he's going to want to start every game like he is at Dortmund. He's not going to leave Dortmund, where he could potentially go for a title. He could potentially go quite far in the Champions League every year. I don't think he will leave a club like that to be, you know what I mean, on the peripheries of a team like Liverpool and win a Premier League. I don't really think that matters to him, if that makes sense. I think he'd rather play his football and, you know what I mean, gain recognition from playing his football than gain recognition from winning a bunch of trophies and not really being a main part of a team.
Yeah. So we've got some comments coming from. I'm going to touch on some of these comments that we've got. So Robert Story, good morning, Robert. I'd be happy to get Sancho at Chelsea. Obviously, him as a Chelsea fan. Next comment we've got here from Charles. Sancho would come to Liverpool as Salah probably has one more season. And there's that rumor about about Salah potentially moving on, not happy at Liverpool. Again, all stories, but that would make sense if that was the case, that they maybe knew something on the inside. Another very interesting.
Yeah.
Players.
If Salah leaves, I think he'll definitely go to Liverpool if Salah leaves. But if Salah's still there and Jota's there and Mane's there, I just don't think he's going to want to really compete. I think he wants to know that he's got a guaranteed spot in that team. So Liverpool will be a good spot, though. It'll be a good team to go to for him.
So he says here, and Charles has mentioned, coming to Liverpool, we compete for Champions League and Premier League and get game time. So he's obviously thinking there that would be a great signing for Liverpool, but it's not going to be a cheap signing. I cannot see how Sancho comes again, given his age, given he was being touted for 100 mil back in the last season summer transfer window. I don't think anybody in Dortmund is going to think, we'll half that given COVID. So they'd rather keep that sort of player, get him to play, maybe even increase his value when the time comes to maybe sell him in a year, 2 years time.
Well, hasn't he actually signed a 3-year deal in the summer as well, didn't he?
Secret deal, didn't he? Yeah. So it's not gonna be cheap. It's not like he's got 2 or 1 year left on his contract. If you're gonna pay, I think if he has a bad season in his regard, because he had 17 goals, 16 assists. If you said that to anybody, you'd think that's a world-class player in his prime last season. If he has an off season this season, I think it will go down by about 20 million. You could probably get him for about 80 million, but I just don't think that people are really going to pay that money, especially in January. Maybe in the summer, but definitely not in January. He's staying in Dortmund in January. I can promise you that.
Again, have you seen him this season?
I've been watching Dortmund. He's been. It looks like, it really does look like that Man U saga kind of is still in his head. He's still performing at a high level because he's just that good of a player, and he still contributes to the team without getting as many goals and assists as he has. And he had a slow start to last season as well. It's just, he just seems like his head's somewhere else, or he's not thinking about playing for Dortmund 100%, because he's not the main guy anymore at Dortmund either. Like, Haaland's come in January last season, and everybody talks about Haaland now. So he's kind of sharing that pressure of being the main guy. Do you know what I mean? So I think Sancho likes to be the main man, and everybody's around Sancho and talking about Sancho. So I think it's going to be difficult for him to leave and join a club where he's not really got that attention. I think, I don't know, I can't judge somebody that I don't know, but that's the kind of vibe I get from Sancho. I feel like he enjoys being that guy that everyone talks about and everyone likes to, you know what I mean, laud for being the main guy in the team. And Haaland's come in and he's really changed that. So I don't know. We may see him mature when he gets older, but at the moment, I think he's a 20-year-old guy who just wants to be the main guy at a team.
Yeah,
and really
put it this way: Dortmund have got 2 very, very sellable assets there in Haaland and Sancho, and any team in world football would take both of those if they went to the same team. They'd make a massive difference. So being at Dortmund, they're obviously going to make a massive difference. So I don't know why Dortmund would be in any hurry to sell these sort of players.
Because they know that they can replace these players. They've got such good scouting networks. They'll sell a player for 100 million and they'll already be landing up the next player that's going to cost them about 5 to 10 million, and then they'll be able to turn a profit in the next 2 years. So Dortmund have a system where it's guaranteed money. So if they can replace a player, they'll sell a player. They don't really mind if the player goes. Do you know what I mean? So.
And there's other things. I can have a comment here from Charles. LFC deal with Nike will help. Yeah, always the sponsors always have a bit of a say in this. Nike, big sponsors like Nike, Adidas will have a say in how these transfers go. Probably sweeteners help with the transfer policy. Transfer monies. Another comment here: Chelsea have the money if they want him, but they still struggle with current signings to settle in and produce, i.e. Timo Werner. And that's very true itself. That's what I mentioned about earlier. Sancho coming to a team like Chelsea. If I was looking at it, I would say that the Liverpool one makes the most sense, given the Klopp connection, that sort of German connection, possibly the Dortmund sort of thing. That kind of makes sense from my perspective. But money-wise, is always going to talk on a transfer like this. So, again, I don't think it's really a January thing that's going to happen. But summer, I think this might run a little bit. Let's go on to our last one for the day. Juventus ex-Real Madrid player Sami Khedira, Everton move. Reports suggesting that Sami Khedira is in England. He's looking to secure a move to the Premier League. Is looking to move as soon as possible. Not just Everton talk. There is talk of other teams and Spurs being one of them. but the main one is being linked to at the moment is Everton. So, Adam, on this one, is this a good move for Everton? Is this a good move for the player?
I'd say it's more of a good move for Everton than it is the player. He could probably go into any other league and easily win the title, like someone like PSG maybe. But I'm not sure if that's the kind of player Everton really need at the moment. I mean, you look at who's the centre, Michael Keane at the back. I'd say he's probably one player that needs to be replaced in that team. I don't think he's consistent enough. But Phil, rather than that sort of defensive midfield area. But he's a big player for Everton, massive player for Everton. So
just having a little bit of a problem with your stream there.
That would be a great bit of business. And obviously, can you?
Adam, we're having a little bit of trouble with the stream. I'm gonna ask Darius the same question just about that move until see if the stream comes back. We can hear you, but it's like breaking up a bit. So just on this one, Darius, is Everton a good move for Khedira, given he's 33, 34?
Sami Khedira, I think is I don't know. Sami Khedira is a very good player for Real Madrid, but he's 33 years old, and I just don't think the intensity of the Premier League is going to suit his kind of style. He likes to dictate play from the base of midfield, and I just think in the Premier League, especially when you're coming up against top teams, they're going to press you high, and I don't know if Sami Khedira is really going to be the right guy to be that sort of defense. When you're a defensive, I've noticed when you're a defensive midfielder in the Premier League, you need to be very, very dynamic. You have to be able to cover a lot of space, because when attacking teams are coming at teams a lot, like especially teams that attack a lot, because Everton they're quite an attacking team, I would say. I think when you've got James Rodriguez and you've got Alan, who's the only defensive midfielder, Decore likes to get up. I think you have to have a defensive midfielder that can cover the spaces that those players leave. So I don't think Sami Khedira is going to really be that mobile and agile defensive midfielder that's going to be able to, do you know what I mean, cover that space and defend each and every area that he needs to. Like, he's not really a Højbjerg kind of defensive midfielder anymore. That's in his past. He's 33 years old. But as in terms of leadership and potentially bringing that experience to an Everton team that haven't really gone anywhere, I guess that could be good. And Ancelotti and him, I guess that would work quite well. But I just don't think in terms of actual football, do you know what I mean? As an actual football team, it would work for Everton or any team in the Premier League. I think he'd probably be better at a league like Serie A. Serie A is not really that slow anymore, but a league that's a lot more slow paced, where he can pick the ball up, dictate play a pass, not really be pressured. Everton's not really going to be the best place in the Premier League. Any team in the Premier League is not really going to be the best place for Khedira.
Okay. Well, we've got Adam back. We lost you there, Adam. Bit of technical difficulties. We were just saying about obviously Khedira to Everton. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like I said before, it's probably a good business for Everton. I wouldn't say it would be a great move for Khedira himself. I see him more as a MLS player. That's the
that is exactly where he should go.
Yeah, that's the kind of pace that he needs, really. The pace of the Premier League is
go play with David Beckham and Matuidi at Miami, innit?
Yeah, that's it. Easy life as well. Coming to the Premier League, agreeing with Darius here in his points, that I don't think he's got the legs to cover the ground in the Premier League. Maybe, Everton would have to change their style. They would almost have to play two sitting defensive midfielders every game to almost counter that. Kind of like how if United they play Matic and they have Fred, because Fred does all the running. And they would have to get someone like that. I don't know if Alan could do that role.
But then you're kind of losing that attacking threat, aren't you? If you have to put two players in the base of midfield, isn't it? So
yeah, that's it. So it depends how you want to go. Whether you want to become that defensive counter-attacking team, or whether you want to build a team that, like our Leeds are now, where Liverpool were probably 4 years ago, where they just try and score more than they concede, and now Liverpool got that team. I just don't think they're going to become that with Khedira.
So Charles is saying doesn't think Kadir will be a good signing for Everton. Premier League too quick for him. Now, yeah, probably the pace of the Premier League is going to dictate how often a player like that is going to play. But would Everton be buying him as a starter consistently? I'm not so sure. I think he'd be a very good backup. He does obviously bring a lot of experience. His Real Madrid days, obviously being a quality player, having played at the highest level. You know, he's a player that could do a lot around the dressing room. It could give them an additional, leader in there. They've got some really good players, Everton have. They've got the likes of James and, Doucouré, and they've got Alan, and they've got, Richarlison up front. They've got some really decent, forgetting about Calvert-Lewin as well. So it's a good setup that they've got. They've really got something building. And the manager, Ancelotti, experienced winner, he would look at that as being potentially someone that could come in, give that sort of experience, give that sort of know-how to some of them, maybe the younger players around them in the squad, in and around the club, and have that real feel-good factor. Everton definitely looked to me like a team that have got a plan. And it's always good to have a plan.
I agree with Adam. I think there's positions in that Everton team where if you replace, well, I don't think Jordan Pickford's that good. If you replace Jordan Pickford and you get a good centre back in, I really think that Everton, with the manager that they have, especially I've noticed now, if you've got a manager that really knows what he's doing, he can get a lot out of players that you did not think that you can get a lot out of. When I looked at that Everton team last year, even under Ancelotti, I thought the players are really not good enough for him to do anything. But he's brought in players that he's wanted, and he's done it on a budget as well. He's brought in good players for a good. I mean, he got James for free, and Alan cost 20 odd million. He's been playing for Napoli and doing really well for the past few years. So I think that if they actually focus on building, instead of bringing in players that they think is going to help, instead of, how about you build a team that you could actually, for the future, even if Ancelotti was to go on, that Everton team could be set for the future, where they could actually potentially be knocking on the door in the top 6, because they're doing really well this season. Let's not forget they are in that top 4 fight with Aston Villa, with Leicester. All those teams they're building teams that are actually really good, and they're not relying on these, I don't want to say past players, but some of these players that we're talking about are not like Ozil and Kadiri. These players are not quick enough for the Premier League anymore. It's very apparent for that. So I think these teams just need to focus on what they're doing at the moment. They're building good young squads that are actually competing with the top 6 teams that we claim on. Top 6
so I'm just going to look at this last comment from Charles. Yes, Everton will do well this season. They can compete for top 4, and all that what you've just said backs that up, Darius. And I think both what yourself and Adam is saying. This could be something that could go potentially if the guy is looking to move and he's around. I think this could have some legs. Right, guys, I think we're going to have to wrap up there. It's been a really good transfer special today. There's lots of rumors. There's always going to be lots of rumors. The transfer window officially opens from midnight on Monday and then runs through till February the 1st. So no doubt we're going to hear a lot of things happening and see a lot of potential transfers. I think a lot of teams are going to want to, given the Premier League status and where teams are, maybe take a chance and bring some players in to maybe get that title challenge, that top 4 challenge.
We're definitely going to see that.
Close.
There's so many teams that have a chance to do something this season. I definitely think we're going to see a more busy January than what we have in the past. That's very true.
I agree. So to all the viewers out there, thank you very much for watching. It's FTB Sports. This has been the daily transfer special. We'll be continuing doing this throughout the month, making sure that we catch as many of these stories as possible. So as normal, as per usual, like, subscribe, share, comment, do all those things, get these numbers up for us. Thank you for joining. Thank you both, Darius, Adam. See you again soon.
Thank you.
Catch you later, boys.